Seduction is not about beauty, money, or luck. It is about psychology. It is about understanding human desires that people don't even admit to themselves. In this video, we are diving deep into laws 11 to 15 from The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene. These laws will show you how to make people emotionally dependent on you, how to create mystery that pulls others closer, and how to control attention without forcing it. Most people try too hard and lose power, but true seducers know when to step back, when to stay silent, and when to strike with precision. If you want to understand attraction on a deeper level, not the surface level advice, but real psychological influence, then watch carefully. Because once you understand these laws, you won't just see attraction the same way. You'll see people differently. Law 11. Create a need. Stir anxiety and discontent. Law 11 of The Art of Seduction. Robert Greene explains that the most powerful form of seduction is not about offering pleasure immediately, but about creating a psychological need. According to the book, people are rarely content. Even when they appear satisfied, there is always some hidden dissatisfaction, some quiet anxiety, or an unfulfilled desire inside them. The seducer's task is not to force attraction, but to awaken that dormant hunger and position themselves as the answer. Greene argues that when someone feels completely secure and fulfilled, they are hard to seduce. But when you subtly stir a sense of restlessness, when you remind them of what they are missing, you create space for desire to grow. This is not about manipulation in a loud or obvious way. It is about understanding that human beings are driven more by what they lack than by what they already have. The law teaches that seduction begins by observing your target carefully. What are they dissatisfied with? Is it boredom in their routine, emotional neglect in their relationship, lack of recognition, or a feeling that life has become predictable? Greene emphasizes that every person carries insecurities and unmet dreams. The seducer mirrors these hidden desires back to them. For example, if someone feels underappreciated, you make them feel seen and admired. If they feel trapped in routine, you embody adventure and unpredictability. By doing this, you become associated with relief from their dissatisfaction. The key idea in the book is that people do not fall for you because you are perfect. They fall for you because you awakened something inside them that was sleeping. Greene also warns that this must be done subtly. If you directly point out someone's unhappiness, they may become defensive. Instead, you create small emotional contrasts. You show them glimpses of a more exciting emotional world. You give attention, then withdraw slightly. You create moments of intensity followed by space. This rhythm increases anxiety in a controlled way. The anxiety is not fear, it is anticipation. The person begins to wonder about you, to think about you, to feel that something is missing when you are not there. That missing feeling is the beginning of emotional dependence. According to Greene, once someone associates you with the satisfaction of their hidden need, your presence becomes powerful. Another important point in this law is timing. Greene explains that you should not satisfy every desire immediately. If you become too available, you remove tension. And without tension, there is no seduction. Instead, you must let the person feel the gap between what they have and what they could have. You become a symbol of possibility. You represent change, escape, excitement, validation, or emotional depth, whatever they lack. Over time, this creates a psychological pull stronger than physical attraction. The target begins to believe that you understand them in a way others do not. However, Greene makes it clear that this strategy requires emotional intelligence. If done carelessly, it can lead to resentment. The seducer must maintain charm and warmth while stirring discontent. The goal is not to destroy someone's stability, but to awaken their longing. Longing is powerful because it makes people act. It pushes them to pursue, to invest emotionally, and to take risks. When you become the object tied to that longing, your influence grows naturally. In essence, Law 11 teaches that seduction is about creating desire through absence and emotional contrast. Instead of proving your worth directly, you allow the other person to feel a need for you. You study their psychology, awaken what is missing, and let them come toward you. Greene's message is clear. The strongest bonds are formed not by giving everything, but by making someone feel that without you, something important is incomplete. Law 12. Use the power of suggestion. Seduction often works best when it is indirect. Instead of openly declaring your intentions, you plant ideas in the other person's mind and allow them to grow naturally. This principle focuses on the power of suggestion, communicating feelings, desires, and intentions without stating them directly. Human beings resist when they feel pressured, but they respond strongly to ideas that seem to come from their own thoughts. When someone believes a feeling is self-created, it becomes stronger and more meaningful. Subtle communication is more powerful than direct persuasion. Tone of voice, body language, silence, eye contact, and even the pace of your words can carry messages deeper than direct statements ever could. A slow, calm tone can create intimacy. A mysterious smile can spark curiosity. A brief pause before speaking can create anticipation. These signals bypass logical defenses and speak directly to emotions. When emotions are activated gently, attraction develops without the person realizing how it happened. Imagination plays a huge role in this process. People are more excited by what they imagine than by what is clearly presented to them. If everything is obvious, there is no room for fantasy. Suggestive language allows the other person to fill in the blanks. Instead of describing every detail, you hint at possibilities. Instead of explaining exactly how you feel, you let your expressions and actions communicate depth. This creates a sense of mystery. Mystery keeps the mind engaged. When the mind stays engaged, attraction grows. Stories are also powerful tools of suggestion. Rather than talking about yourself directly, you can share stories that indirectly reveal your qualities. A story about a spontaneous trip can suggest that you are adventurous. A story about helping someone can suggest kindness and depth. The listener connects these traits to you without feeling that you are trying to impress them. This approach feels natural and effortless, which makes it more convincing. Another key element is creating emotional atmosphere. Environment affects psychology. Soft lighting, meaningful music, quiet spaces, and comfortable surroundings all lower resistance and heighten emotional sensitivity. When someone feels relaxed and slightly removed from their usual routine, they become more open to influence. In such moments, suggestion becomes even more effective. A simple look or gentle comment can leave a lasting impact. Patience is essential here. If you move too fast or become too obvious, the spell breaks. Direct pressure triggers defensiveness, but subtlety allows curiosity to grow. Curiosity is powerful because it keeps attention focused. When someone is curious about you, they begin to think about you even in your absence. That mental presence strengthens emotional connection. Confidence also matters. Suggestion works only when delivered with calm certainty. If you appear unsure, your signals become weak. But when your body language, tone, and expressions are aligned, the message feels authentic. Authentic energy makes suggestion believable. The other person senses intention without hearing it directly. Silence can sometimes be stronger than words. Leaving certain things unsaid creates tension. That tension encourages imagination. And imagination, when combined with desire, becomes extremely powerful. People often fall in love with the image they create in their own minds. By allowing space for imagination, you give them room to build that image themselves. This approach requires emotional awareness and control. Overdoing mystery can create confusion, while being too clear can remove excitement. Balance is the key. A hint of emotion, followed by distance. A moment of connection, followed by space. This rhythm keeps energy alive. True influence does not shout. It whispers. It guides rather than pushes. When someone feels drawn to you without knowing exactly why, suggestion has done its work. Attraction feels natural, effortless, and self-created. And when desire feels self-created, it becomes far more powerful and lasting. Law 13. Confused desire and reality. One of the most powerful elements of attraction is fantasy. People rarely fall for reality alone. They fall for the image they build in their own minds. When everything about you is clear, predictable, and fully explained, the imagination has nothing to work with. But when there is mystery, contradiction, and emotional depth, the mind starts filling the gaps. That is where desire becomes intense. Fantasy is stronger than facts. A person may know very little about you, yet feel deeply attracted because of what they imagine you to be. Instead of presenting yourself in a fixed, obvious way, you reveal different sides at different times. Sometimes warm and open, sometimes distant and thoughtful, sometimes playful, sometimes serious. These small contradictions create complexity. Complexity creates curiosity. Curiosity keeps someone mentally engaged. When reality is too ordinary, attraction fades. Daily life is routine, predictable, and often boring. If you blend into that routine, you become forgettable. But when you bring emotional contrast and unexpected reactions, surprising depth, sudden intensity, you disrupt monotony. That disruption creates excitement. Excitement awakens desire because it feels different from everyday life. Illusion plays an important role here. Illusion does not mean lying about who you are. It means highlighting certain qualities while allowing others to remain hidden. You do not expose every detail of your personality immediately. You let the other person slowly discover layers. Discovery feels rewarding. When someone feels they are uncovering something rare or special, they value it more. Distance also strengthens fantasy. Constant availability reduces mystery. If someone can predict your every move, the imagination shuts down. But when there is space, moments where you are unreachable or focused on your own world, the mind starts wandering. Wandering turns into thinking. Thinking turns into emotional investment. The person begins to create stories in their head about what you are doing, who you are, and what you might be feeling. Symbols and atmosphere can deepen this effect. The way you dress, the way you speak, the music you like, the places you choose to meet, these details create an aura. An aura is powerful because it cannot be fully explained. It gives people something to interpret. When they interpret, they project their own desires onto you. That projection strengthens attachment because they believe you match their inner dreams. Emotional, unpredictability can also increase intensity. If you are always the same, there is no tension. But if your attention sometimes feels intense and at other times slightly withdrawn, emotions rise and fall. That emotional movement creates energy. Energy keeps attraction alive. However, this must be controlled. Too much unpredictability creates insecurity. Just enough creates excitement. Another key factor is allowing the other person to idealize you. Many people rush to show all their flaws immediately, thinking honesty alone builds attraction. While authenticity is important, revealing everything too quickly removes the space for idealization. When someone idealizes you, they attach deeper meaning to your actions. A simple message feels special. A small compliment feels powerful. Visual imagery is also strong, creating moments that feel cinematic, connected adventures. Emotional conversations under meaningful settings, memorable experiences makes interactions feel larger than life. When experiences feel larger than life, they stay in memory longer. Memory fuels desire because people long to relive powerful emotional moments. The balance between reality and illusion must be maintained carefully. If illusion becomes deception, trust breaks. But when illusion is simply mystery and emotional depth, it enhances attraction rather than damaging it. The goal is not to create falsehood, but to create emotional atmosphere. When desire mixes with imagination, feelings intensify beyond logic. The person may not fully understand why they feel drawn, but the pull becomes strong. They are attracted not only to who you are, but to who they believe you might be. That space between reality and imagination is where powerful attraction lives. Law 14. Create temptation. Desire grows stronger when something feels slightly out of reach. When everything is easily available, it loses value. But when there is a small barrier, a hint of challenge, attraction intensifies. Temptation is not about forcing someone to chase you aggressively. It is about presenting yourself as desirable while maintaining a sense of self-control and independence. When people feel they must earn your attention, they value it more. Confidence plays a central role here. Someone who appears desperate for approval rarely creates strong attraction. Desperation signals low value. On the other hand, calm, self-assurance signals strength. When you show that you have your own life, your own priorities, and your own standards, it increases your appeal. Standards create selectivity. Selectivity creates exclusivity. And exclusivity makes attention feel special. Temptation also relies on contrast. Warmth mixed with restraint is powerful. If you are completely distant, there is no emotional connection. If you are completely available, there is no excitement. But when you combine interest with slight resistance, energy builds. A compliment followed by a change of topic. A deep conversation followed by space. These small shifts create tension. Tension is essential because it keeps emotions active. The human mind is naturally drawn to what feels forbidden or rare. When something seems slightly restricted, curiosity increases. This does not mean playing games in a childish way. It means understanding that attraction thrives on emotional uncertainty. When someone is not entirely sure where they stand, they think more. The more they think, the more invested they become. Body language can create temptation without words. A steady gaze held a second longer than usual. A subtle smile that fades slowly. Calm movements that show control. These signals communicate desire without begging for it. Subtlety is key. Loud attempts to appear attractive often feel forced. Quiet confidence feels magnetic. Scarcity strengthens temptation. If you are constantly available, responding instantly every time, you reduce your perceived value. But when your time feels limited, your attention becomes meaningful. This does not mean ignoring someone for the sake of strategy. It means having a full life that naturally limits your availability. When someone senses that your time is valuable, they respect it more. Emotional control is crucial. If you become overly reactive or show jealousy too quickly, the balance shifts. Temptation requires stability. When you remain composed, even in emotional moments, you create an aura of strength. Strength attracts because it feels secure and reliable. Challenge can also increase desire. When you gently disagree or express independent opinions, you show that you are not simply trying to please. Agreement on everything feels artificial. A little intellectual tension creates stimulation. Stimulation keeps interaction interesting. Interesting interactions create emotional memory. However, temptation must never turn into manipulation or cruelty. If you create too much frustration, the other person may feel confused or hurt. The aim is to spark excitement, not insecurity. The line between mystery and emotional unavailability is thin. Crossing it can damage trust. Attraction is strongest when someone feels both drawn and slightly uncertain. That uncertainty creates movement. It pushes them to step closer, to invest more, to seek clarity. When they move toward you willingly, their attachment deepens naturally. Temptation is about balance, showing enough warmth to invite, enough distance to intrigue, and enough confidence to inspire pursuit. When attention feels earned rather than given freely, it becomes more meaningful. And when something feels meaningful, it becomes harder to let go. Law 15. Isolate the target. Strong attraction rarely develops in crowded, noisy environments filled with outside influence. When people are surrounded by friends, family, routines, and social expectations, they behave differently. They protect their image. They follow habits. They listen to outside opinions. Emotional intensity weakens in such settings because attention is divided. Real influence begins when attention becomes focused and undistracted. Isolation does not mean physically removing someone in a dramatic way. It often begins subtly. Private conversations instead of group discussions. Shared moments away from daily routine. Quiet spaces where vulnerability feels safer. When two people are alone, the emotional atmosphere changes. Defenses lower. Thoughts become more honest. Feelings become clearer. Daily routine keeps people grounded in logic. Work, family, responsibilities, and familiar surroundings reinforce stability. When you introduce new environments, unexpected outings, meaningful places, slightly unfamiliar settings, you gently separate them from that routine. In new surroundings, people feel slightly unbalanced. That mild imbalance increases emotional openness. They become more sensitive to connection. Emotional isolation can be even stronger than physical isolation. If someone begins sharing personal thoughts with you that they do not share with others, a private emotional world forms. That private world strengthens attachment. Secrets create bonds. Shared vulnerability creates trust. When someone feels understood in a way they are not elsewhere, the connection deepens rapidly. Outside opinions often weaken attraction. Friends may question intentions. Family may create doubt. Social pressure may create hesitation. When you create space away from those influences, Feelings grow without interruption. The person begins to rely more on their own emotional experience rather than external judgment. The more they rely on that internal experience, the stronger the bond becomes. Attention is powerful currency. In isolation, attention becomes concentrated. Eye contact feels stronger. Words feel heavier. Silence feels meaningful rather than awkward. Emotional reactions become more intense because there are no distractions to dilute them. Intensity creates memory. Memory strengthens desire. Creating shared experiences is another key element. When two people experience something unique together, an adventure, a deep conversation, a meaningful challenge, it creates a sense of us versus the world. That feeling builds unity. Unity builds loyalty. Loyalty strengthens influence. Gradual progression is important. Sudden or forceful attempts to isolate someone can create suspicion. It must feel natural. A suggestion to talk privately. An invitation to explore somewhere new. A deeper conversation at the right moment. Each step should feel comfortable rather than pressured. Dependence can slowly develop through consistent emotional presence. When someone starts turning to you first for comfort, excitement, or advice, you become central in their emotional life. Once you hold that position, your absence feels noticeable. That feeling of absence strengthens attachment even more. However, responsibility comes with influence. If isolation is used carelessly or selfishly, it can harm trust. The purpose is not to cut someone off from their world in a destructive way, but to create focused emotional connection. Strong bonds should enhance a person's life, not shrink it. When distractions fade and attention becomes centered, emotions intensify naturally. Without the noise of outside voices, people listen more closely to their own feelings. In that quiet space, attraction grows deeper and more personal. And when a connection feels personal and private, it becomes powerful. Attraction is never random. It follows patterns. When you understand those patterns, you stop chasing and start influencing. Real power in seduction comes from psychology, from knowing how desire is created, how imagination is triggered, how tension is maintained, and how emotional focus is built. Desire begins when something missing is gently awakened. When a person feels a quiet dissatisfaction and you represent possibility, interest starts to grow. Indirect communication then strengthens that interest. What is hinted at often feels more powerful than what is clearly stated. When imagination becomes involved, emotions expand beyond logic. People don't just respond to reality. They respond to the story forming in their own minds. Mystery keeps that story alive. When everything is predictable, excitement fades. But when there are layers, subtle contradictions, and emotional depth, curiosity increases. Curiosity leads to attention. Attention leads to attachment. A little tension, not confusion, not insecurity, but controlled emotional rhythm, keeps attraction active. Warmth mixed with restraint creates value. Confidence without desperation builds respect. Focused connection deepens everything. When distractions fade and two people share private emotional space, feelings intensify naturally. In those moments, outside opinions matter less and personal experience matters more. Shared experiences, vulnerability, and undivided attention create strong emotional memory. An emotional memory is powerful because people return to what makes them feel deeply. The core idea is simple. Influence grows when emotions are awakened. Imagination is engaged, tension is balanced, and connection feels meaningful. Seduction is not loud. It is subtle. It is not about force. It is about presence. When someone feels understood, intrigued, slightly challenged, and emotionally stimulated, the bond forms on its own. Mastering these principles requires patience, emotional intelligence, and self-control. Without control, strategies look obvious. With control, they look natural. And what feels natural feels real in the end. The strongest attraction is created not by saying more, but by making someone feel more.